Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Yeti from Earth to Plates, and in today's video we're going to let Thanksgiving inspire us for dinner. Now, my family doesn't like any whole protein. Like, we don't eat whole chicken or anything like that. So when I first wanted to start making anything related to Thanksgiving, I was concerned, what will my family eat, because we've never had turkey before that, and especially not like I've never roasted a whole chicken. My family doesn't like the dark meat, so it's not worth it for me to roast a whole chicken or a whole turkey if we're not going to eat most of it. I had found a recipe for turkey cutlets that I will share with you guys today, and we're going to make some, it's called sweet potato pastrami pockets. We're going to make a kale salad and a pumpkin bundt cake for dessert. So come along with me and we're going to get this going. Now I'm going to start off with a cake because that needs to bake and then cool, and then I have to make an icing to go on top of it. While that is baking, I want to prepare all the other stuff because I might be heading outside later today to finish off our garden expansion. Now, you can be on the lookout for, it's probably going to be the video after this one, where we extend our garden. And we've been working outside the last 2 days, and maybe we're going to get to finish it off today if I have time and if the weather holds up and stays nice. So I want to prep everything because most of the things will be going into the oven. So if I can have everything ready, I'll just have to pop it into the oven when the time comes. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do for the cake is I have here some baking chocolate, and we're going to melt this over a double boiler. If you have a microwave, you can do it in there. I don't. So I'm going to do it over a double boiler. We're going to let this melt and let it cool while we start preparing the cake batter. So we're going to let this go while I start preparing the cake batter, and I'm going to keep an eye on the chocolate while I'm starting that. Okay, so I have my machine out. I have all my ingredients out. So we're going to get started. We're going to start off with 1.5 sticks of margarine. Two cups of brown sugar. Now we're going to beat this until it's nice and smooth. Once this comes together and it's nice and smooth, we're going to add in 4 eggs, one at a time, and mix it in between. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 cup of soy milk, and 2.5 cups of flour. And we're going to beat this until it's just combined. I don't want to overmix it, that's why I turned it off. I'm going to add in the pumpkin puree now, and then I'll mix it until it's just incorporated. And I'm putting in 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin. You want it to be the pumpkin puree, not the pumpkin pie filling. And my chocolate is melted and cooling. So I'm going to get the beaters out. I'm going to remove 1 cup of this mixture, and we're going to mix it together with the melted chocolate. Okay, so here I have our melted chocolate. I'm going to get a cup of the batter out. We're going to put it in here. And we're going to combine this by gently mixing it together so that we're not overworking the batter. Okay, we're going to set this aside. Now here I have my bundt pan that I've greased. And whatever is left in here, the remaining batter, we're going to divide in half. I'm going to get half of it in. Smooth it over the entire pan so it covers the bottom. Now we're going to get our chocolate pumpkin batter, and the recipe says to drop it in dollops over the batter. Now we're going to get the remaining batter and pour it over top the chocolate batter. I'm going to smooth out the surface again. This is a marble pumpkin chocolate cake, so I have here a skewer and we'll just marbleize it a little bit. This will now bake on 350 for 50 minutes. Okay, we're getting ready to do our turkey. So we're going to start off with a little bit of oil in our pan. We're going to heat this. I prepared some flour here, and all we're going to do is we're going to coat our turkey cutlets in some flour, and we're going to cook it in here for just a minute, not too long, 1 minute on each side, I believe. Yes, 1 minute on each side, and then we'll just put it into our pan that it will be baked in. And here I got my pan ready. When it comes out, it'll go straight into here. So I coated the cutlets in the flour one at a time, and I could not fit more than 2 into the pan at a time. So I cooked this in batches, and I actually had to add oil in between each one because all that flour absorbed the oil very fast. I see that not all of my turkeys are going to fit in here, so I got out one of these oven to tableware dishes that I have. I'm going to put it in here, and we'll see if it fits better. I will let it overlap a little bit because they're pretty thin cutlets and they're going to be in the oven for a little while, so I'm not worried about it cooking through. Yeah, I like this better. Okay, we're going to go back to the island. We're going to make the sauce that'll go over this. Okay, the sauce for the turkey is going to start off with 2.5 cups of duck sauce. Okay, I ran out of the regular, so I'm going to use spicy too. And before I dirty up my tablespoon, I'm going to measure out the salt. 1 tablespoon of salt. Now we're going to do 2 tablespoons of teriyaki. 1 cup of water. I'm going to crush 5 cloves of garlic. A teaspoon of paprika. Some black pepper. And some crispy fried onions. Now we're going to combine all of this and pour it over the turkey cutlets. Just trying to not make as many dishes, but I feel like this needs it. Okay, now that we have the sauce ready, we're just going to pour this over top, and we're going to cover this and put it in the fridge until we're ready to bake it. Now I forgot to say the recipes that I'm making today, I will link them in the comments down below. And this recipe and the cake and the salad I have made before, and it's a family favorite. The only thing I'm making new today is the sweet potato and pastrami pockets. So we're gonna have some fun trying a new recipe as well as some classics that I know that my family enjoys. Okay, the next thing we're making is kale salad. Now what I did with this kale is that any of these leaves that had very thick stems, I pulled them off, and then I rinsed and I washed and cleaned them. Now I'm getting a pair of scissors, kitchen shears, and I'm just going to cut it up so that the pieces are a bit more bite-sized and easier to eat. So this is going to be a very basic salad. It's a kale Caesar salad. So all I'm going to do is add the dressing, which I made a couple days ago. I have enough in here, so I don't have to make a fresh batch. Let me just tell you how I made this. So the dressing is made out of a half a cup of mayo, 3 teaspoons of minced garlic, 1 teaspoon of red wine vinegar, a teaspoon of mustard, salt, and pepper. And then I also have, so in a paper bag over here, I have my croutons, which I took a fresh sourdough bread, cut them into cubes, drizzled it with olive oil and smoked paprika, and I baked it on 350 for 20 minutes. And this is going to wait on the counter until we're ready to dress the salad. And this I'll cover and put into the fridge for now. Now I am serving this with turkey. That means that I cannot add cheese to it. So I'm not going to do that, but whenever I serve this with a dairy meal, I add some Parmesan cheese to this as well when I toast it together. Now that that's in the fridge, the last thing that's left to make is the sweet potato pastrami pockets, which the recipe says it reheats very well, and rather bake it first and reheat it later. So I'm waiting for the cake to come out of the oven. It has another 9 minutes. So once that comes out, we're going to get going on the sweet potato pockets. Okay, to get started with our pastrami pockets, sweet potato pastrami pockets, we're going to put in about 3 tablespoons of oil in here. Now this here, you guys can't even see it, but over here I have a onion that I diced up. And we're going to let this cook down for about 5 minutes. And now that this has cooked down a bit, I'm going to add in 1 sweet potato that I have cubed, along with some salt and some pepper. And we're going to let this cook down for another 5 minutes until the sweet potatoes are starting to become soft. Now that this has started cooking down and then it's cooked for 5 minutes, I'm going to cover it with a cover, and we're going to let it cook for another 5 to 6 minutes, and then we're going to check to see if they're starting to soften. Let's check these potatoes. Yes, they are soft, so we can continue. Next, we're going to be adding some pastrami cut into cubes. Now my butcher had cut them a bit too big, so I had cut them smaller. We're going to add some apricot jam, some soy sauce, and some parsley. I'm going to let this cook down for a minute or two. Okay, here we have our filling, which is done. It looks so good. Here I have 4 mouthwaters that I have slightly defrosted. I'm going to work with one at a time. We're going to roll this out to 10 inches. It's roughly about 6 inches right now. We're going to make it a little bit thinner. I think I want to put some flour down. It's still frozen, so it's kind of hard to roll it out. Like this over here is solid frozen, but over here is defrosted. So this side is not really rolling out. Let me see if there's a different one that is slightly more defrosted. Yeah, this one's mostly defrosted. Let's do this one first. Okay, now that I've rolled it out a bit bigger, we're going to cut this into 4 pieces. That wasn't very even. Now we're going to get about a tablespoon of this filling. Put it in the center of each of these. And now we're going to wrap these up. Make little pockets. And over here I have a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. We're going to put these onto the cookie sheet. And this was the perfect amount of filling for the 4 rounds of dough. Okay, so this is what it's looking like. And before it can go into the oven, we're going to brush it with an egg wash. And then this will bake on 375 for 20 minutes. Okay, into the oven this goes. Okay. Now that our cake has cooled enough that I was able to transfer it from our cooling rack onto a cake tray, I'm gonna make the icing that will go over top. We're gonna start off by melting 2 tablespoons of margarine and a half a cup of brown sugar until they're both melted and it's smooth. I'm expecting it to melt without turning on the heat, and that magic won't work. Okay, at this point the margarine is melted, but we're gonna wait for the sugar to melt a little bit more because I still feel the grains of sugar in here. And I want it to be the smoothest possible. Okay, this is now removed from the heat. We're gonna add in some vanilla extract, a cup of confectionery sugar. We're gonna combine this, and then we're gonna add 1 to 2 tablespoons of soy milk as needed. I'm gonna mix this to try to get rid of as many of the clumps that I see. Like the powdered sugar, if you sift it, you wouldn't have this problem. And I don't think I'm gonna add more soy milk. I think that was the perfect amount. Almost completely smooth. We're gonna consider this good. I'm gonna move it aside. And now we can drizzle this over the cake. So when I drizzle a cake, I try to get the batter, not the batter, the icing in the center of the cake. And then it'll just drip off. Maybe I could have used another little bit of soy milk. It's not really drizzling. Definitely could have used more. I think I'm gonna help it drop down a little bit. Can't really do that. So it won't be the prettiest looking, but it's still gonna taste good. And it's something that I know that my family enjoys because I've made it in the past, like I've said. And we've always enjoyed it. Okay, so now that our cake is done, and like I said, it's not the prettiest, but it'll still taste good, and we'll still enjoy it. The pastrami potato pockets are in the oven. They have 2 more minutes. They're gonna come out. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna wash my dishes. The sink is full. I have some flowers here. I'm gonna put it into a vase when I go to set the table. So the turkey is almost coming out of the oven, and I put in the pastrami pockets back in the oven so that it can reheat and be warm. In here, I'm making a sauce to go with the sweet potato pastrami packets. Start off with a half a cup sugar. We're adding a half a cup soy sauce, and I'm gonna crush a garlic. And we're gonna let this cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, now that this has cooked down the amount of time needed, we're gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna add in a teaspoon of whiskey. I don't want to overdo this. Stir it in. Now that this is done, I'm gonna get to plating, and I'll show you guys what everything looks like. So guys, it's been a few days. We've been enjoying this cake, and the icing has been bothering me, but we've been enjoying it anyways. But I want to redeem myself because I know that in the past I've managed to do better. So we're gonna remove this, and I'm making a new one. I'm doing a half a batch of half the recipe because we have about half of the cake left. I'm gonna move this aside. And here I already melted the margarine and brown sugar. I'm gonna add in the vanilla and powdered sugar and soy milk now. So we're gonna add a little bit of vanilla. And to half the recipe, I'm gonna do a half a cup of powdered sugar. And I'm preparing my soy sauce here with the measuring spoon. And guys, I wanted to tell you the pastrami, the sweet potato pastrami pockets were a hit. We all enjoyed it, and I will definitely be making that again. And this is definitely looking better, more like what it looks like every other time that I make it. I don't know what happened the other day. And this is actually thinner than it usually is. Okay. Definitely don't need the rest of the soy sauce. The rest of the soy milk. And I've been saying soy sauce the entire time. Especially if I should drizzle it now, which is going to run down the entire cake. Or I should wait a minute or two. We're getting voted out, but wait. Okay, so we're going to wait 2 minutes. I'll be back. It's thickening up nicely. I'm going to wait another minute or two. Just a little bit more because I don't want it running off the cake too much. That looks good now. See how it's nice and thick. It's running, but it's holding up too. I'll consider this good now. So let me move the cake over. I like to put the icing on the top, and I'll let it drip off to the center and to the outside. And this was definitely a redemption. I'm really happy I decided to redo it, because I know that in the past I've done better than the previous attempt. Now we're just going to let this cool completely. And this looks so much better already. Look at that. Yum. Thank you so much for watching my video and joining me on this cooking day. If you would like to see more videos, consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you want to see some more videos, I'll pop them on the screen for you right now.